amazing that you all have expressed interest in either the evening or day program, and we're here to talk about both of them and answer any questions you have. And I'm just going to start off with a brief introduction to our work at ITC. And then we're going to really get into why we actually all joined the webinar to hear from the people themselves and the developers themselves. So give me one moment, let me share my screen. Okay, so again, welcome. I'm not going to bore you with all the technical details, but just to give you a little bit of background on ITC and how we got started and why we're actually here. I think we're all here, first of all, because we want to have a career change. That's why you guys are here. That's what we're here to help you do. And the reason that we actually got started with this is because quite a few years ago, we identified, or the Jewish agency, who we were a special project and a company owned by them, understood that there was a very large gap and a lack of professionals in the tech hub and the Israeli high-tech industry, with the whole startup nation and everything getting and continuing strong. And we're here to try to fill that gap. And we believe that we have, there are many young people here of all ages, coming from different backgrounds, who have a lot of potential and the ability to be able to integrate themselves within this industry. And I think one of the most important things that you should keep in mind when we're discussing the programs is that we're not only here to talk about technical things, and we're not only here to teach you how to code, because you can do it on your own. There are various places you can learn to do that, but at the end of the day, we understand your potential, and that's what we look for. And not only that, the industry is looking for specific kinds of skills that are not only hard technical skills, they're also soft skills. They're also looking for being able to, for people who are problem solvers, who are able to independently approach things and also work in a team, and not only independently. They're looking for people who don't give up, who have that can-do approach. I think for the Hebrew speakers here, it roughly translates into tchushat mesugalut, like that you believe in yourself, that you have the ability, that you can work through this and crack the code, and also have the motivation to succeed. And these are very, very important soft skills that we call, which is what we call, that the industry is looking for, in addition to the hard technical skills and knowing how to code and using the different technologies. And I think our whole admissions process and our screening process is based on the fact that we want to find that potential. We want to see that spark, that motivation, that kind of ability, even if you don't have the hard skills, because we can teach you that. Okay, so just kind of like a little bit on our general process throughout the whole funnel of going through ITC. We begin with our screening process. I know some of you have already started the process and you're at various stages, but we start with the online initial screening test, which basically, and Melissa here from enrollment can tell you a lot more about it, that basically tests your ability to learn something new. Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that potential, as we mentioned, and also English skills and a high enough level of English. The reason that we look for this is because our programs are in English. And why are our programs in English? Because that is the high-tech language at the end of the day. That's the universal language, and it's important for our candidates and our students to have that ability to communicate in the industry. Afterwards, you go through a personal interview with the program manager, with either myself or Mohamika, who you'll meet in a little while. to kind of get to know you a little better and hear and discuss kind of what your goals are and what you aim to reach, and see how you approach different kinds of situations. And once you get through that, you also have a pre-course assignment. And we'll get more into details about that a little later at the end. I'm not going to spoil anything, but at the end of the day, it's a rigorous screening process, and the average acceptance rate for our programs are about 1 out of 12. In terms of the actual programs that we offer, we're here talking about full stack development, both the morning and the evening programs, but we also offer data science and machine learning, which is also a program for people who actually do come from a more technical or science background, and are looking to get more into data. We also have a data analytics program, which is more of a beginner, like a program where you don't, similar to full stack, where you don't need to have any specific background, but are learning, but you want to upskill and you want to learn something new and maybe get into the world of data. During each of these programs, they happen a little bit differently, but at the end of the day, the programs involve a lot of connections and networking and interaction with the high-tech industry. We have I don't know if this is something you know, but we have a whole team at ITC that's dedicated to working with the industry and connecting the students to the industry and ITC, keeping us also on our toes in terms of the content, on what's mostly popular, like what are the most used and most recognized skills and technologies, but also they're here to provide you with exposure to the industry. The full stack program and the data science program will also involve a part of the program where you go out and do a project, a hands-on project at the industry for a certain amount of weeks. And a lot of also networking opportunities. And we also start working with you throughout the program on the soft skills needed, not only to land a job, but also to, as we mentioned, get into the industry and successfully integrate into it. At the end of the day, when you're integrated into the job market, around 94% of our graduates of our programs found a job in their field of study within 6 months. We have connections with over 800 companies, and there are always some companies that want to come back for more because they're very happy with their graduates, and turn to us when they look for new recruits. And they're also partners for our training, meaning we receive input from them to update, to keep our program up to date. We also host them for workshops for data science, for example. So a lot of opportunities here. It looks like a very long process, but at the end of the day, the full-time programs, they're boot camp. So we get a lot done in a short amount of time. Okay, so as we discussed, as I briefly mentioned, we do have a lot of different connections with companies such as Intel, Facebook, Google, Waze, Outbrain, and Checkpoint, also Mobileye. So these are companies that we hear about and we discuss on a regular basis. And a lot of our graduates end up at these kinds of companies. Since 2015, we've had over 1,200 graduates, and we continue growing, and we hope to see you. We hope that maybe next year you can also be a part of this slide that we have. So I just wanted to introduce you briefly to the people that you're going to be meeting here today. Yonathan Bendahan, who developed the program and is our tech lead for the full stack development program. He'll be right after me. Afterwards, we'll hear from Ruti, who is one of our full stack graduates, who now works as a front-end developer at Wix.com. Afterwards, well, we already met me. I actually think I didn't officially introduce myself. I am the head of programs at ITC, which means I oversee all of the programs, and I'm also a program manager myself. So I'm currently responsible for the full stack evening program. Marmika will also join us, and she covers and manages the full stack full-time program. And we also have Melissa here, who's covering and managing all the admissions, okay, for the program, and you'll hear from her later too, and you'll have her information. Yeah, and I want to introduce Ziv, who's here with us, who's our community and marketing manager who helped put us together, and Linor, who's also from our marketing team and admissions team. Oops, no spoilers, sorry. I think that's it in terms of my intro. Are there any questions before we get started? We don't know what to ask yet. That's okay. We'll give you questions. You'll understand along the way what you need to ask and when. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Yonathan Bendahan, who will go over the program content with you. And this is definitely a good opportunity to ask any kind of questions about the syllabus or content and what it actually means to be a full stack developer.
Thank you, Molly. Hey, everyone. So as Molly introduced, my name is Yonathan. I'm the full stack tech lead. Let me share my screen before I continue. And I'm responsible for the full stack program. Oh, not this one. Slideshow. I'm responsible for the full stack bootcamp. For those of you who will choose to be part of IDC and participate in the full stack bootcamp, I want to introduce to you what full stack means, what is the idea behind the bootcamp, and what would you learn and what would you experience in terms of the technical parts. So Molly separated between the soft skills and the programming skills. So I'm focusing on the programming skills, the technical skills. And of course, there are also soft skills which are parallel to what you will learn in programming. So the first thing is, what is full stack? A lot of people talk about full stack development, or more specifically, it's full stack web development. In our scope, there are other types of full stack development, but 90% of the time when someone says full stack development or saying they are full stack developers, they're talking about web development. And I wanted to think about the applications that you use every day: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you're using. You have either an application on your mobile phone or you have a website. There are mostly more than one version for the same application. And when you have this website, there is some kind of user interface, right? You can see some information like who's your friends, latest posts, likes, any type of information that this application tries to communicate to you. And you have buttons and inputs and things you can click on and interact with. And this is known as the front end. So whatever you as a user sees and interacts with, this is the front end. And usually when we talk about web development, we're talking about three main languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And those are the three languages that you will learn as part of the front end development in the full stack program. So you will learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML and CSS, you spend half a week, maybe a whole week, it depends when the week starts, learning. This will be the first week. And then you will move on to JavaScript, which is the actual programming language. And it will take, I think, 4 weeks. And it's more thorough, and it's introduction to programming and programming principles, and a lot of cool stuff that has to do with programming with JavaScript. So this is the front end. As software developers or front end developers, we always think how to tell the browser, this is what we use in web development, right? Chrome, Edge, Firefox, whatever you're using. We always think on how to write program that the browser will display to the user, how to tell the browser where the button is at, and what happens when the button is clicked. Okay, this is what we try to do as front-end developers. It's both visually and how it will function, what it will do when the user do something, or when there is new information to display to the user. The second part of this system, again, think of any application that you are using, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, there is something behind the scenes. So usually this front end part is getting information from somewhere, right? It gets all of your users, it gets all of the latest posts. Or if you want to create a new post, you type some text and you hit send, it sends this information to someplace, okay? And it's not on your computer. And it's through the internet, right? We need an internet connection to see the results. So we have something that connects between us and this thing that lives somewhere in the world. And this is what we call the backend. The backend, it can be a server. So most of the time it's hosted on the cloud. So when you think on the cloud, so this is where the backend lives at. And this is another piece of software that we write also with code, and we are going to use Node.js in the full stack program. And this type of code is the code that's responsible of how to handle the data. So for example, it can give me all of the latest posts that are relevant to me as a specific user. Or if I'm sending it some text, it can take this text and keep and save it as a post and then send it to my friends when they are viewing the application. So the backend is this large system that can interact with the data that comes or displayed in the front end. And it also saves this data. So we want to save the data not on my computer, but on some server in the cloud. So it will be available to me when I go to the application the day after, or when my friend is opening the application and they want to see the post that I posted a few hours ago. Okay. So presenting data is in the front end with user interaction, and saving data is in the backend with data manipulation and calculations. Of course, we do some fancy stuff in the backend, and you will learn about them. And if I combine backend and front end together, what I get is full stack. So full stack means full stack developer means that I can develop both the front end part and the backend part of an entire application. So if I'm a Facebook developer, I can both code something for the Facebook UI. So I can code a new piece of UI on Facebook with buttons and texts and whatever is necessary. And I can also code the backend part that can take the data, save it, or send it if necessary. So I can develop both parts. So this is what full stack is about. And this is the diagram that usually visualize how everything goes around. So this is the client server architecture, it's called, or model. And this is what we do. Okay, this is what we're going to learn about. How to write code for the client side. This is the user's computer and usually the user browser to display our code. And through the internet that communicates with the server, and how to write code that runs on the server. Okay, so again, when you think about a web application, this is roughly the two parts that we have. Of course, it's a little bit more complicated than that, and you will learn about it. So we have a client and a server, and as a full stack developer, I can write code that works on both sides, so I can do all of the feature alone. Of course, we don't do things alone, but I can be responsible for both parts. This is the curriculum of the full stack program. And this is what you will learn when you will start in the bootcamp. It's not the timeline for the evening full stack. I think it's a little bit different because it's spread differently. So this is the bootcamp, not the evening full stack program. And as you can see, first of all, it's separated into two parts, front end and back end, which eventually will come out as full stack. And the first week will be HTML and CSS, 2 and 3rd week JavaScript, and then in 4th and 5th week is JavaScript Advanced. It's more JavaScript and more algorithmic thinking and computer science stuff. Then you will learn about React. And I guess some of you heard about React. React is a framework or a library, which is using JavaScript. Okay, so it relies on JavaScript to develop complicated front ends. Okay, so this is for the front end. It's a library that helps us develop something which is a little bit more complicated than a simple website. So this will be the 6th, 7th, and 8th week where we'll learn React. And then on the 10th week, you will move to the backend. Okay, so there will be this shift to the backend, learning Node.js. So Node.js, it's some kind of technology to run servers using JavaScript. So this is why it has this JS at the end. Again, it's related to JavaScript. It looks the same, it behaves almost the same, but it's for the backend. Okay, so remember this diagram in the head. Also, you will learn SQL. SQL is a language for communicating with databases. Databases is how we save information. So think of it like a large Excel sheet where you have all of the information of the users, the posts, and you want to programmatically interact with it. So this is what SQL is about. So it's about databases, managing databases, designing databases, and communicating with them. And then there is Node.js Advanced in the 12th week. Then MongoDB, it's another type of database. It's a NoSQL database, code testing, group project in Hackathon. And what I want to emphasize here on this table is you see that I skipped on something. I went from the first column to the third one. And on the middle column, we have a project. So each week, the focus of the bootcamp and also the evening program, it's on a project. We care a lot about your ability to write code and to create something and to write features and to lift up a project from zero, because this is what you will be expected to do when you will work on a company. So we want, our idea, it's not like a university where you need to learn all of the theory for 3 years and only then jump into the water and building projects and building applications. We want to do it from day one. So from day one, on each week or 2 weeks, sometimes it's a 1 week project, sometimes it's a 2 week project, we'll have a project in a document explaining what you need to do. Of course, it's a guided project. It's not really tasks as in a company, it's more guided and more explained. And you will have to complete the project milestones and complete the features that you have to do, and then submit it, and you will get reviews, and you will be able to see the program that you wrote comes to life with front end, back end, database, and everything. So we'll have your own portfolio at the end of the bootcamp that you can show off to a future employer, and tell them, here, I can also, this is what I did, and I can write a full stack program from scratch because I did it in the bootcamp. And this is our main focus in the bootcamp, and this is what you mainly do in the bootcamp. This is all. This is the overview. Any questions about full stack, the program?
Yes, can I have a question? Yonathan.
Yes, who is asking? I just can't see your
Hi,
face.
Barak.
Oh.
Hi. Yonathan, I have a question. Why don't we use the Python program? Why JavaScript?
First of all, JavaScript is necessary for front end, so you cannot run Python on the browser, so you have to learn JavaScript. And second, we are talking with a lot of CDOs and the companies that we send you to at the end of the bootcamp, and we ask them, what is your requirement for a full stack developer? And most of them, like, I don't know the percentage because I don't remember the statistics, but most of the companies require you to know JavaScript and Node.js, because most of the companies are moving to Node.js as the backend instead of Python. Again, there are some companies who use Python, but we need to focus on one thing because we can't teach you all of the programming languages there are. It will take more than 3 months. So we focus on JavaScript and Node.js. Of course, after you will learn this, and if you will go to a company that requires Python, you will get the time to learn it. And of course, after that you learn in the bootcamp, we also teach you how to think as a programmer and how to understand programming, not just JavaScript specifically. So learning Python will be relatively easy. It won't be that difficult after you know JavaScript.
But are there similarities from JavaScript to Python? I mean, they are both easy to write, as I heard, and I saw lots of movies on the internet.
Yes, they are both easy to write and to learn comparing to other languages. Again, our opinion, and after asking CDOs in the Israeli high-tech ecosystem, we came to realize that Node.js is more popular for backend development. And again, JavaScript for front-end development is mandatory. We cannot replace it with Python. So it only comes to backend development, where Python is an alternative, but in our case, we decided to go with Node.js because it's becoming more popular than Python for backend development.
just to give you a little bit more reference, 2 years ago, we used to include Python in this course. And we just thought in terms of what the companies were looking for, just what Jonathan just said, they were asking more for the Node.js than they were asking for the Python. That said, we do offer introductory Python courses for students who just want to study that alone. Usually we use it as an introduction so people who want to go into the field of data science, rather than people who already know and want to go in. There are a lot of resources to self-learn Python, saying that it is something that you could relatively quickly learn if you do have that mindset. And that's something that's very important. It is a very intensive program that you have seen in front of you, but you're learning, it changes the way you think about things, the way you pick things, the way you are now a coder, you're now a programmer. And that way, that adaptation is more easier when you want to learn new languages, because each company has the little niche that they want to focus more on. So you would be making that, learning all the time, as is with tech.
Any other questions? Okay. So this is it. Thank you everyone for coming and listening.
Thank you, Yonathan. It was good to see you as usual. Now I'm going to introduce Ruti, who is a full stack graduate and works at Wix.com. Ruti, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ruti, and hi, Mo, Yonathan. I haven't seen you guys in a while. It's nice seeing you. I did the cohort. I finished about almost a year and a half ago, maybe I started. I've been at Wix now for a bit more than a year. Yeah, should I just go into the background, or is anything else okay. So I came from a marketing background. I was working in as like I was out Mahkar as a research assistant in the university and as a teaching assistant in the marketing department. And when I was doing my research, I wanted to be able to use bigger data sets rather than just running my own experiments. So I started teaching myself SQL and did a data science course online on Coursera. And, through that, I kind of realized that I really liked coding, and I thought, I might as well try and do that for my career instead of doing another 5 years in school, doing a doctorate. So I was looking around and I found ITC. I feel like I'm running through this. Is there anything else you guys wanted me to say, Ziv?
Oh, no, you're doing great. Continue.
Okay, yeah.
I want to hear your story and your experience.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I was looking around at different boot camps to do at that point when I realized I wanted to try to, change my career. And, the most important thing to me at that point was that there would be an internship. Because I know, it's always really hard to get your first job in anything, especially when you're breaking into a new, career path completely. And I, not coming from a degree, and especially Israel, connections are super, super important. So when I was looking at different courses, like originally I was looking at data science, and then I saw that with my background that full stack was the closest match I could do. And then I started, talking to different people. I had some friends in high tech, and I told them to look over the syllabus for me. And I knew you were talking about Python versus JavaScript, and it's true everything Yonathan said. It's most people are using JavaScript and React and Node. It's what we're using, especially at Wix for sure. And when I was looking at different courses, I posted on Facebook, which you guys should probably all do, and just say you're thinking of doing a boot camp and ask if anybody did the different courses. And there was quite a few people that responded to me that they did ITC. So I got on a call with someone who was doing the course right at that moment, and she had told me, good things, because it's really intense. And she, it was explained that she's learning a lot. So at that point, I decided to study at ITC, and looking back now, it was so much more work. Like getting the internship was like, it was almost like starting a vacation, you know, because like it was, you know, every day. I got really, really close though with the people that I studied with. We still have a group chat. You know, it was really, you really need the support of other people when you're, you know, learning so much at a time. I'm trying to think what else, if I, you know, if there's any questions, you guys can totally interrupt me. You know, the projects in the course were really useful. The different, I was like looking over when he talked about he said the notes project, the pet full stack, like those are really difficult, you know, like I remember like when I started work, I felt super prepared, and I started at Wix with 3 other people started on the same day as me, and 2 of them were computer science students. And the actual like day-to-day work of what we were going to do, I was, you know, actually pretty like more prepared than they were from day one, just because, you know, we were doing actually coding and learning like the way to code that you would do in a high-tech company. Because most people who do computer science, they're really good at math, you know, but they're not actually learning the languages that you need for, you know, working. But also it's something I learned when I got into high-tech, because I didn't do high-tech before. I don't know if anyone else does, but they're really used to having to teach people when you get in. So you shouldn't be intimidated. It's something that, you know, you're constantly learning. And if you're in a good place, they're going to be constantly teaching you new things. You know, just today, a friend of mine she's a student, and she had to write a node server, and she was asking me about it. And I was like, yeah, like I did it in my boot camp, and I wrote a couple servers. Like it's not my specialty, but I was familiar with it from the course because they kind of really go over everything. But the main thing I think is just it taught you like how to teach yourself. And I remember, you know, getting a project, and on the first day I would almost cry, you know, because I was like, it's impossible. Like I have no idea how to do it. And then like by the end of the project, you know, by the end of the week you have it, it's buggy, but it's working. And yeah, I mean, I guess like if I think of the other people that I studied with, you know, people who put into it, they got a lot out. Most of the people that I know, they were offered jobs from their internships. Some didn't want to take their internship, or some, you know, they weren't hiring. But everyone that like was in my group chat, we're all employed in full stack. I think one person is in IT, but that was his choice. It took some people more time. You know, I think I got really lucky getting the placement at Wix, and 3 of us were placed at Wix from my cohort, and all 3 of us were offered full-time jobs at the end of our internship. So yeah, I mean, if anyone has any questions, I think I went over most of the, yeah, someone just asked me questions because I feel like I don't know else what to say. There's a chat. Extra help with studying. Yeah, you know, if you just talk to the mentors, they'll help you. But also like it was mostly just having groups. The most help I got was talking with the other students. Like I would go in almost every day to the campus, which I think you really should. And I think most people who went in physically to the campus got the most out of it. Again, it's easy for me to say because I live very close, but I think just being there and being able to talk to people, and especially even now at work, I go into the office almost every day because there's just, especially when you don't know the people, you know, it's much easier to talk these things out because it's not easy, you know, and you have to learn a lot of things. So is there any other questions or?
I think
Ruben,
that you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I can't see hands if you're raising, so just talk. Yeah, hi.
How does how does they decide about the place you do your internship?
Okay.
Like if your performance at the course is better, you get more prestige places, or it doesn't have anything with it?
I think Mo is probably better to answer this than me, but at least like Wix specifically, it was they sent, I think, 15 of us that were Olim Kharashim to, because Wix specifically wanted to, you know, hire Olim. So I don't know how they chose the exact 15, maybe it was based on performance, and they sent us, because Wix was different because it was a long process to apply, and they took 3 people. But it was a different, maybe more, do you want to take this question?
Sure, I see there's another question on the chat, so if you can answer that, and then I will get Ruben's question.
Yeah, my internship was at Wix. Like I said, like they sent 15 people about from ITC to apply to intern at Wix, and 3 of us were accepted. Everyone else mostly went to startups. And that was more of a matching, but I don't actually know how the matching was chosen, because my process was different.
So yeah, so I will say your project placement is based on your performance, but I want to say it's both your technical performance and your soft skill performance. And you also have each student get an opportunity to express their preferences. So for example, if you prefer working, I'm just saying, working remotely, like working by yourself, this is something we're going to look at and going to respect. And if you say the other way around, I'm really a people person, I like working outside of home. So we are also gonna take a look at that. But yes, it is depend on your performance. But I wanna say, because the end of the day, we want to give you the best chances to succeed. We don't want you to put you in a project where we have the feeling you're not gonna be able to express your potential and everything you learn and all your capabilities. So this is a very long process we do, trying to match the student with the company, where we believe there are the highest chances of success and being hired.
But maybe just to clarify, 100% of the students will be in a project in high-tech companies. It can be startup, it can be more mature companies, but each one of them will have the chance to have a project. So it's important to know that.
Yeah.
And if I can add to this train of comments, if we're talking more about like the industry side and the companies, the history of our statistics indicate that around 50% of our students get hired by their companies. It of course changes like from cohort to cohort, but overall around 50% receive job offers from their company, as Ruti did. If they don't, then you come back for our post-graduation program. It's like a session of additional soft skills and sometimes more mock interviews, and it gives you more opportunities to work on how to get yourself in the industry. And while that goes on, you participate in that, but behind the scenes, we have the industry engagement team that works on sending out your CV and matching you with additional interviews until you do find a job. So even if you don't, at the end, if we go back to the stats from the beginning, when we say 94%, around 94% within 6 months, those are the success stories at the end of the day. It happens one way or another. Of course, I can 100% guarantee when and how, but at the end of the day, we want you to succeed, and that's our goal. We want you to reach that.
Is there a waiting period between like the end of the course and the internship, or the internship usually begins just at the end of the course?
It usually, for the most part, it does begin right after. Maybe there's a week or two break because sometimes the companies will give you like a task that you need to work on, or if there's something that you need to touch up on. So, and it's also like a little bit of a breather to kind of catch your breath.
Was actually like, there was a huge range in the waiting period, just to be honest. This also for me, like the Wix process took a really long time, but it took a different time for each person. It took me a month to be accepted, and so I had, about 6 weeks in between the end of the course to when I started at Wix. And, some people got matched later. Everyone did eventually get matched, but it did take different times for different people, because in the end of the day, each company has their own process.
Right. So our like official schedule is that everyone does start on the same day, but here and there are certain like company needs where we need them though to start on this date or something, or sometimes the interviewing process goes a little bit longer, and that's fine. Okay. It's the official time is 8 weeks from when you started. I think there's another question for Ruti here. Yeah.
I think most of the people in my cohort finished. Like I can only think of, again, like when I did it, it was like peak Corona. So a lot of the people I probably didn't see physically, but from what I can remember, I think maybe 3 were dropped, maybe 2, 1 chose to left, but not like a small minority, you know, but also people who dropped, like it was clear that, you know, they weren't, it wasn't, you know, if you're not succeeding, like there's no, you know, you have to, it's a lot of work.
How many people you have in each course?
That's a,
So it's funny because Ruti's cohort, I think it's the biggest ITC cohort in history. It was quite a big cohort. So specifically for Ruti, I think you guys were 60 or 70 students.
yeah.
No, for the average cohort in ITC will be more around 40 students. But I want to say that also, for example, in the Ruti's cohort, so we found more technical members to be around to help. So it won't affect you guys as students, the size of the cohort, because if we have a bigger group, so we will have more staff. So for them, this cohort, we're around 40 students with enough mentors to give like the personal attendant, like help each one needs.
How many days a week it's the participation in the campus is mandatory?
So again, so first I'm going to let maybe Ruti answer the question on chat because it's more relevant to Ruti, and then I will go back to your answer, Ruben.
There are another people, I think that's the, I don't.
Oh, you did answer it, sorry.
I think this would also, are there any more questions? Because we'll talk about like program life and stuff for both of the programs. I just want to make sure that there are no more extra questions for Ruti, or Ruti, if you wanted to add any last words.
I mean, the only thing I would say is that I genuinely really appreciate, I mean, for me and a lot of people I know, ITC was great. You know, it's hard to believe that I didn't know how to code a year and a half ago, and now I'm at Wix. I think I got really lucky in a lot of things, but also it was a good career change. And at least for me, I like working on projects. I like working with other people. I think it's really important because in academia, I was really working alone. You have to be good at, you know, working with other people in coding, even though you might think it's very much alone, but you're constantly on a team, talking with people, getting advice, giving advice. It's really important. But I'm really happy with the change. So, and also you have to like to code, you know, you have to like to solve puzzles and enjoy yourself. Like sometimes like if you start to get bored, it's okay. You know, you can work on things more challenging or interesting, but at the end of the day, like if you're not enjoying coding, yeah, at some point you'll realize it during the course, you know, but it's just something to think about.
Did you feel prepared for the tests that you had to do at Wix?
You're never going to feel prepared.
It was like a great hell.
Yeah, no, listen, like I finished the interview at Wix, the second technical interview, and I logged off and I cried. You know, I thought I failed, really. And I passed. So like, it's hard and like, clearly I passed, right? So, but they try to challenge you, but yeah, for the technical, I mean, we had to do a project to like the first, and then we had a technical interview about it afterwards, and it was really, really challenging. And at the time I didn't feel prepared, but clearly I was. So you have to understand too, that like everybody's in the same place as you. Like somebody who's doing a computer science degree doesn't necessarily know any better than you. You know, in the end of the day, like what you're doing in the office, it's way more similar to what you're going to learn in, you know, any boot camp than you would have in a computer science degree. At least for full stack, right?
I have a question. What problems are you solving on a day-to-day basis now? Like, for example, today, what were your tasks?
Well, I mean, we're rebuilding the whole project and we're using like a different framework. So it's kind of like building separate apps, but also at this point, it's like more architecture wise. Like right now I'm working on something that trying to like get different parts of Wix to communicate with each other. I don't know how much I can say, to be honest, but you know, every day it gets a bit more and more complicated. Like now I can just, you know, I think the main thing is that you're just working faster. It's very similar to the stuff you were doing in ITC. It's just now I do it a lot faster and I know the bigger picture better. Don't want to give any secrets away, so I feel like I shouldn't say much more.
Thank you, Ruti.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ruti.
Thank you, Mo.
Thank you, Ruti.
I'm gonna log off, yeah? Everybody's.
Forget your question. This is exactly what we're going to be talking about now. So as Molly said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure, okay, the structure of the program and how your daily life is going to look like. So as you guys probably know, the program, again, for the full-time program is going to be Sunday to Thursday. So basically full-time job, being a student in ITC. We have scheduled every day from the morning until the afternoon. So basically from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you guys are going to be ITC students. The first half of the day until lunchtime are going to be the morning lectures. So for each subject, usually we have a different lecturer as they come with more experience, as this is their what they've been working on in the industry. So one lecturer for, let's say, for JavaScript, and then a different one for React. And this is going to be the first day of the day. Then you're going to have lunchtime, which sometimes sounds funny that we actually put on our schedule lunchtime, but we know the program can be very intense. We have very high expectations, very demanding, and we want to make sure you guys have time to eat and to interact with each other. You know, we want to, by the end of the program, full stack developers, but also happy and healthy developers. And then the second half of the day is a bit more dynamic. We really want, this is my job as the program manager, basically. I want to feel you guys as individuals and as a group. And the second half of the day will basically be more recaps, mentoring time, Q&A sessions. There are going to be extra material, extra work, going over what you already learned in the morning. If, for example, we know you guys are about to work on something very challenging on your projects. And we have already the experience with students having struggles and trouble doing that. So we are ready, we're prepared, we're there with mentoring time, again, with open door, with everything, like every other tool we have to guide you and to be there with you. And this is Sunday to Wednesday. Usually Thursdays are a bit more different. There are our soft skills days. Also to give you an opportunity to relax a little bit after such an intense 4 days, coming to Thursday, having usually, again, soft skills workshops. These are going to be also our checkpoint days. And usually on Thursdays, we also have happy hours. So Thursday are definitely like fun, lighter days for you guys to go into the weekend with a big smile. I want to say also that sometimes during the week, you're going to see there's no schedule after lunchtime. And this is going to be sometimes on purpose because, again, we know you guys are about to meet a big deadline. You guys are going to be very focused, really wanting to work independently. So there's going to be no schedule, but obviously me and the other mentors are going to be on campus available for you. So it's going to be you working independently and us there supporting you whenever and if needed. Regarding coming to campus, so we do a hybrid system, meaning we have around 2 to 3 days, which are going to be mandatory to come to campus. They're always communicated in advance, so you will know 1 week at least in advance when you are going to be expected to be on campus. Any other day is going to be your choice. Just like Ruti said, it's highly recommended to come as much as possible. We understand that some people prefer working from home, but from our experience, being on campus brings a lot of value because the interaction with other students, the easier interaction with us. So highly recommend to come to campus as much as possible. Either way, if it's a mandatory day on campus or not, lecturers and mentors are going to be on campus. So there's definitely a huge value for you making the effort and coming all the way to Tel Aviv and joining us on campus. Molly, did I miss anything? Guys, do you have any questions regarding, like, again, the structure and the way our daily life looks like as ITC students?
Sorry, I missed the last part. You said lectures are always on campus?
Always on campus, correct. Always on campus. And if they're always recorded, so Zoom is always on. So if you decide to stay at home, no problem. You can watch, you can join us from home, but lectures are always going to be on campus. And I see there, if you miss any lesson. Okay, so first, it's a very good question. Thank you for asking this. So first, we will expect you, just like in work, okay, to communicate as much as in advance when you are going to be expected to miss a lesson. So of course, if you woke up in the morning and you're feeling terrible and you're unable to come to campus, that's one thing. Right for us in the morning, just so we know, we don't, I always say to students, I'm like a Jewish mother, and if you guys don't show up, I get worried. So just let me know you guys are not feeling well and you decided to stay at home. But if, for example, you have, I don't know, let's say miluim, I always forgot to say miluim in English, when you were called to
Reserve duty. Reserve.
Thank you. So for example, this is something you know way in advance. So just let us know. There is a very organized way to communicate this, and there's no problem. You can miss the class. And as I said, all lectures are recorded and uploaded to our Google Classroom. So whenever you're going to be free, you can rewatch the lecture just to make sure you're not losing track of the program. And it's very nice also because you are going to have the access to the lecture, the recording of the lectures when you finish the program. So let's say you're going to be like Ruti, working in a company, you want to remind yourself something you learned in React, easy access to that lecture. Any other question?
I just wanted to add that campus life is so fun. Right? It's really fun to come to campus. We have happy hours for students every 2 weeks. We have also like various events that happen throughout the cohort. And it's just, I think a lot of the students, it just eventually, like for those especially doing the day program, just becomes their home for like 3 months.
Sure.
The campus is open until late also, if you prefer to come and study there. So, yeah.
Thank you, Molly.
If there aren't any questions about the day program, then I'd like also to briefly just go over the evening program. Move on to that. So the evening program, I think in terms of content, there isn't a very large difference. It's more in the structure. So we do cover everything that Yonathan Bendahan covered. We do in the evening program, just at a different pace. And we are coordinated in terms of the syllabus and the content. So we're not going to be teaching different things at the end of the day, but the pace and kind of how you use your time is going to be different, because at the end of the day, it's meant for students who are working full time and cannot take that time off work. So it's just spread out over a longer amount of time. It's spread over around 8.5 months. It depends on the holidays and how that kind of mixes in with the schedule. But it's important, I think, to first say that the 8.5 months do not include the project. So when you register for the program, you are not automatically joining the project phase. And the reason why this is because the project is all at the company is always going to be full-time, which means that you will eventually need to leave. If you do continue to the project phase, you will need to leave your job. So the tuition is also less because it doesn't include the project phase. And to get into the project phase, you need to make sure that you're at you have a high enough professional performance, and also soft skills to be like accepted into that phase. And then it's an add-on that you can do afterwards. So that's that. In terms of what our week looks like, not really a day, it's more of a week. We have 2 lectures and 1 mentoring session. They usually happen 2 evenings a week and 1 Friday morning. You need to be present for all of these sessions, meaning that you can't I think this also goes for the daytime. You can't miss classes on a regular basis. There, of course, here and there, if there's you have as Mo said, miluim, or you have an event or something, then we have of course that kind of flexibility, and it's your responsibility to make it up. But you are expected to participate in the official program sessions. And since you just, in general, you have less time on your hands because you're juggling work, a lot of the students, of course, also have families and stuff. So we assume that you don't have 24 hours a day to work on it, and that's perfectly fine, which is why the pace is a little bit slower. The projects and all the deadlines are spread out so that you have enough time on the off days of the week, meaning the other 3 or 4 days that we don't study. You will need to study on your own and use that time for projects. Okay, so it is a big time commitment, even though it's at a slower pace. And we're also very focused on practicing in some of the topics, because of course it depends on the topic and that we're learning, but we also take time out of class to practice together as we go along to make sure that in the limited time that you do have with us, that we can get the most out of it. And we also save one specific day for mentoring sessions so that everyone can enjoy the recaps, everyone can enjoy the additional things. We have our soft skills on those days also, okay? So it's structured a little bit differently, but we do have, again, the student staff ratio is again according to the group size. We're available remotely. The program is only over Zoom. You are welcome to come study on campus. We have a few students that kind of group together and come study together, and that's amazing, but you won't need to have any presence on campus, maybe the first or last day, just so that we can get together as a group to get to know each other. But those, of course, will be communicated in advance. And the staff is available remotely, which means that we talk over Zoom, we talk over Slack, we make it work at the end of the day. It's important in those kinds of situations to be able to build that social atmosphere, and we encourage, and we start off with a social thing to make sure that everyone starts classes with a buddy. We also have, if you're an Oleh Hadash or if you live in Jerusalem, we also have an evening program that's opening actually physically in Jerusalem. It will be on campus, and it'll be more or less the same structure. So an evening program twice a week, and then Friday mornings. And if you live in 3 times a week altogether, 2 in the evening, 1 on Friday, physically in Jerusalem. So if you live there, if you're an Oleh Hadash, you may be eligible for very significant discounts that I'm going to leave to the enrollment team to discuss afterwards, but that starts in October. Are there any questions about the evening program? Okay. Great. So I'm going to hand it over to Melissa. Do you want me to share the slides?
I would like that. Thank you.
Of course. You want to give me 1 second?
And the Jerusalem is 3 evenings a week, not Friday mornings.
Evenings. I'm sorry.
It's Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursdays.
Okay.
By the way.
There you go.
Thank you. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Melissa. I'm part of the admissions team. Together with me, you've also got Rafi and Sivan. So some of you might be in touch with them already. The admissions process. It seems lengthy, but I promise you it's not as lengthy as you would think it is. First of all, you're in touch with one of us. After that, once you've spoken to us and we figured out which program it is that you'd like to do, and if it's the day one or the evening one, then we'll get to the next step. The next step basically is an English or motivational quiz, depending if English is your native tongue or not. After that, there is the screening test, which is basically a 42-minute video that you get to watch. and then a multiple choice questionnaire about the video. Of course, it has to do with the terms of within the terminology of full stack development. Once you've passed that, you've got the interview with the program manager, Molly or Mo, depending again which one you're taking. And
We're
then
also interchangeable. So you might have an interview with the other program manager, but it's okay. We're all on the same page. We're all coordinated. Don't worry.
yeah, exactly. Then once you finish that, there's the signing of the terms, all right, the down payment, and then you go to the pre-course. Now, you've got two options there. You can all go straight to the pre-course and do the pre-course by yourself, or you could join us for our Web Fundamentals class, which is a class that helps you with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's a 3.5-week course. We usually open that course about a month and a half before the course starts. We have one that started yesterday, and our next one will be on the 6th of June. Okay, it's 3.5 weeks, 2 evenings a week and a Friday morning, right, Molly?
So yeah, it depends on like
Depends on Chagim and
yeah.
Depends
We're
on
in Israel. Everything surrounds holidays and food and vacation. So
exactly.
Next one is going to start?
The next one is on the 6th of June.
And it's important to mention that the June 6th one is lined up for the evening program. Okay, so if you're in the day program, you won't be able to finish on time to do that, but it's lined up with the evening program. Or if you're interested.
For the day program, I already missed the beginning.
It started yesterday.
Okay.
You want to register now? Melissa said it was fast. We can test how fast we can do it.
If you want to, after this
can
call,
make it happen if you want.
We can make it happen.
The fastest a person's ever been admitted is 3.5 hours, and that's the record to break.
Wow.
So it is very much doable if you're very, very saying, I want to do this now and do everything today. But well, not today, it's interview is probably tomorrow. But that said, the pre-course assignment, when it is sent to you, is meant for you to try to self-study it, okay? The web dev is for people who feel that they need a little bit more support learning. The course itself, the materials that you get that first assignment is a self-study assignment. Okay, it is very much doable to do it on your own.
How many hours it takes approximately?
Between 20 to 30, depending on how fast you go.
Okay.
I just can I just clarify one thing about the hours? There are two parts to it. There's what you need to learn, and then there's the actual project. Okay, so the online course itself is around 21 hours, and then there's that, and you'll need additional maybe 20 hours, again, depending on your pace. You can do it in less, but sometimes it takes more, and that's okay too. But it's good to save at least 2 weeks to do it.
So if you miss out on the web dev fundamentals that started yesterday, you could still proceed and try to finish the pre-course project for the program that starts on June 13th. So this is realistic and still doable.
All right.
Melissa, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, so then once you finish the pre-course, you have a technical interview, all right, with the mentor, and that's basically reviewing your assignment that you did during the pre-course, making sure that you understand what you've written, how you got to where you are, and then if there's room for improvement, they will tell you and ask you sometimes to improve on some of the coding that you've written, and if you've passed, you made it, and there you go, you start the program. Now, there was a slide with my phone number, my WhatsApp, exactly, thank you.